On a cold October night in 1981, a baby with a lightning bolt scar was left on a doorstep in suburban England. The wizarding world celebrated, not knowing that their savior had just become an orphan. This is the story of Harry Potter, the boy who lived, the chosen one, and the wizard who would sacrifice everything to end the darkest chapter in magical history. Harry James Potter was born on the 31st of July, 1980, to James and Lily Potter at the height of the First Wizarding War. A prophecy had marked him before birth, declaring that a child born as the seventh month dies would have the power to vanquish the Dark Lord. Lord Voldemort, the most feared dark wizard in a century, chose to interpret this prophecy as referring to Harry. On Halloween night, 1981, Voldemort came to Godric's Hollow. James Potter fell first, wandless, trying to give his wife and son time to escape. Lily Potter refused to step aside, choosing death over abandoning her child. Her sacrifice created ancient magic that Voldemort could not comprehend. Love so powerful it left a mark on Harry's very blood. When the Dark Lord turned his wand on the infant Harry, the killing curse rebounded. Voldemort's body was destroyed, reduced to less than a ghost, and Harry was left with nothing but a lightning-shaped scar. Albus Dumbledore placed Harry with his only remaining family, the Dursleys of number 4 Privet Drive. Vernon and Petunia Dursley despised magic, despised anything abnormal, and they despised the nephew left on their doorstep. For 10 years, Harry lived in a cupboard under the stairs, sleeping among the spiders, woken before dawn to cook breakfast for his obese cousin Dudley. He wore Dudley's cast-off clothes, broken glasses held together with tape, and learned early that asking questions about his parents only brought punishment. The Dursleys told him his parents had died in a car crash, that they were worthless drunks, that the scar on his forehead came from the same accident. Harry had no friends or euros. Dudley's gang made sure of that. Strange things happened around him that he couldn't explain. Vanishing glass at the zoo, hair regrowing overnight after bad haircuts, appearing on the school roof when running from bullies. He had no idea that he was famous, that an entire hidden world knew his name, celebrated his survival, told their children bedtime stories about the boy who lived. He had no idea his life was about to change forever. On Harry's 11th birthday, a giant named Rubeus Hagrid broke down the door of a shack on a rock in the sea and spoke 4 words that changed everything. "You're a wizard, Harry." Diagon Alley revealed a world Harry never knew existed. He learned of his parents' true fate, of Voldemort, of his own fame. At Gringotts, he discovered his parents had left him a small fortune. At Ollivanders, a wand chose him, brother to the very wand that had given him his scar. Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry became Harry's first true home. The Sorting Hat considered placing him in Slytherin, but honored his choice of Gryffindor. He found friendship with Ron Weasley and Hermione Granger, a bond that would define his life. He discovered a talent for Quidditch, becoming the youngest seeker in a century. But danger followed Harry even here. Something was hidden on the 3rd floor corridor, something Voldemort wanted. With his friends beside him, Harry passed through magical protections and confronted Professor Quirrell, who had been hosting Voldemort's parasitic spirit. Harry's touch burned Quirrell to ash, the protection of his mother's love still flowing through his blood. At 11 years old, Harry had faced Voldemort and survived once more. Second year brought whispers and fear. A house elf named Darby tried desperately to keep Harry from returning to Hogwarts, warning of a plot. Students were being petrified, found frozen as stone. Messages appeared in blood on the walls. The Chamber of Secrets had been opened. Harry discovered he could speak to snakes, a rare ability called Parseltongue, and suddenly the school suspected him of being the heir of Slytherin. Even his friends doubted him. Through a mysterious diary, Harry witnessed memories of a student named Tom Riddle, who had supposedly caught the monster 50 years before. When Ginny Weasley was taken into the chamber, Harry did not hesitate. He and Ron found the entrance behind a bathroom sink and descended into the depths beneath the school. There Harry learned the truth. Tom Riddle was Lord Voldemort's younger self, preserved in the diary, draining Ginny's life force to restore his own. The monster was a basilisk, a giant serpent whose gaze brought death. Armed with nothing but the sword of Gryffindor, pulled from the sorting hat by true courage, Harry killed the basilisk. He destroyed the diary with a basilisk fang, unknowingly destroying his first Horcrux. This victory came at a cost. The basilisk's fang had pierced Harry's arm, and only Fawkes the Phoenix's healing tears saved his life. Third year, Harry learned that Sirius Black had escaped from Azkaban, the wizarding prison, and was hunting him. Black was said to be Voldemort's most loyal servant, the man who had betrayed Harry's parents. Dementors surrounded Hogwarts, creatures that fed on happiness and forced Harry to relive his worst memories. He heard his mother's final screams whenever they drew near. Professor Remus Lupin, the new defense against the dark arts teacher, taught Harry to conjure a patronus, a guardian of pure light, to repel them. The truth Harry discovered that year shattered everything he believed. Sirius Black was innocent. He was Harry's godfather, his father's best friend, wrongly imprisoned for murders committed by Peter Pettigrew. Pettigrew, not Sirius, had been the secret keeper who betrayed the Potters to Voldemort. He had faked his death and spent 12 years hiding as Ron's pet rat. Harry found Sirius, found hope for a family, only to watch it slip away. Pettigrew escaped. Sirius remained a fugitive, unable to clear his name. But Harry had gained something precious, knowledge that his father's friends had loved him, that there were people in the world who wanted him, and the distant hope that someday he might have a real home. Fourth year ended Harry's childhood. The Triwizard Tournament brought students from 3 schools together for a deadly competition. Harry's name emerged from the Goblet of Fire despite being too young to enter, forced into a binding magical contract. He faced dragons, merpeople, and a maze filled with dangers. He watched friends turn away, saw the wizarding world's fickleness as they celebrated then condemned him. He grew closer to his competitors, especially Cedric Diggory, a Hufflepuff who embodied everything good about Hogwarts. The final task ended in nightmare. The tournament trophy was a portkey that transported Harry and Cedric to a graveyard. Peter Pettigrew was waiting. "Kill the spare," came a cold voice, and Cedric Diggory died in a flash of green light. What followed was the darkest ritual Harry would ever witness. His blood, taken by force, helped resurrect Lord Voldemort to full physical form. Harry was bound to a gravestone, forced to watch the Dark Lord return, forced to duel him. Only the connection between their Twincor wands allowed Harry to escape, carrying Cedric's body back to Hogwarts. The wizarding world refused to believe Voldemort had returned. Harry was branded a liar, an attention seeker. He returned to Privet Drive, knowing that war was coming, that Cedric had died beside him, and that nothing would ever be the same. Fifth year was the year of isolation and loss. The Ministry of Magic, led by Cornelius Fudge, launched a campaign to discredit both Harry and Dumbledore. Dolor's Umbridge was installed at Hogwarts, a tyrant in pink who carved, "I must not tell lies," into Harry's hand during detention. Harry taught his classmates defense against the dark arts in secret, forming Dumbledore's army. He learned of the prophecy that had shaped his life, that neither he nor Voldemort could live while the other survived. He saw visions through Voldemort's eyes, a connection he could not control. Voldemort exploited this connection. He planted a false vision of Sirius being tortured at the Department of Mysteries. Harry flew to London with his friends to save his godfather, only to discover it was a trap. The battle in the Ministry was chaos. Death Eaters pursued them through rooms of mystery and time. Sirius came with the Order of the Phoenix to rescue them. In the fighting, Bellatrix Lestrange's curse struck Sirius in the chest, and he fell backward through an ancient stone archway, the veil between life and death. Harry's grief transformed to rage. He chased Bellatrix, tried to use an unforgivable curse, failed. Voldemort possessed him briefly, trying to goad Dumbledore into killing Harry to end the threat. But love saved Harry again. His grief for Sirius, his capacity for emotion that Voldemort could not understand, forced the Dark Lord out. The Ministry finally acknowledged the truth. Voldemort had returned. The Second Wizarding War had begun. And Harry had lost his godfather, the closest thing to a parent he had ever known. Sixth year, Dumbledore finally took Harry into his confidence. Through collected memories, Harry witnessed the origins of Tom Riddle, the orphan who became Voldemort. He learned of Horcruxes, objects containing fragments of a soul, the secret to Voldemort's immortality. 6 had been created, and each had to be destroyed before Voldemort could truly die. Harry found unexpected guidance in an old potions textbook marked as belonging to the Half-Blood Prince. Its margins were filled with improved spells and clever annotations. He also fell in love with Ginny Weasley, finding joy amid growing darkness. But darkness was closing in. Draco Malfoy had been given a mission by Voldemort himself. Harry suspected him all year, but couldn't prove it. Dumbledore took Harry to a sea cave to retrieve a Horcrux, forcing Harry to watch as he drank a potion that brought terrible suffering. They returned to find the Darkmark over Hogwarts. Death Eaters had invaded through a vanishing cabinet Draco had spent the year repairing. On the astronomy tower, Dumbledore faced Draco, who could not bring himself to kill. Then Severus Snape arrived and spoke the killing curse. Albus Dumbledore fell from the tower. Harry learned that Snape was the Half-Blood Prince. He believed Snape had murdered Dumbledore, that the man was truly evil. The Horcrux from the cave was fake, replaced by someone with the initials RAB. Dumbledore had died for nothing. Harry vowed not to return to Hogwarts, to hunt Horcruxes instead. He ended things with Ginny to protect her from becoming a target. The hunt began with escape. The Order used Polyjuice Potion to create 7 Harry Potters, flying through the sky as Death Eaters attacked. Mad-Eye Moody died, protecting him. George Weasley lost an ear to a dark curse. Harry's owl Hedwig was killed, defending him from a killing curse meant for Harry himself. The world Harry knew was crumbling, and people were dying to keep him alive. After Bill and Fleur's wedding was attacked by Death Eaters, the trio disappeared into hiding. They infiltrated the Ministry of Magic, disguised as Ministry workers, stealing the Horcrux locket from Umbridge's neck while she conducted mock trials of Muggle-borns. They escaped with the locket, but lost Grimmauld Place as a safe house when they were traced. For months they camped in forests and moors, moving constantly, unable to destroy the locket they'd stolen. The Horcrux poisoned their minds, whispering doubts and fears. Food was scarce. Hope was scarcer. The locket amplified every insecurity, every fear, turning friends against each other. Ron, wearing the locket during a particularly bad night, believed Harry and Hermione wanted him gone, that he was useless, that they mocked him behind his back. He left after a terrible fight, disapparating into the winter darkness. Harry and Hermione carried on alone, 2 teenagers against the entire wizarding world with no plan and no hope. On Christmas Eve, they visited Godric's Hollow, hoping to find the sword of Gryffindor or speak to Bathilda Bagshot. Instead, Voldemort's snake Nagini attacked from inside Bathilda's reanimated corpse. They barely escaped with their lives, Harry's wand broken in the fight. Ron returned, led by Dumbledore's Deluminator that caught Hermione's voice saying his name. He saved Harry from drowning in a frozen pond and destroyed the Locket Horcrux with the sword of Gryffindor, striking through visions of his deepest fears. At Xenophilius Lovegood's house, they learned of the Deathly Hallows, the Elder Wand, the Resurrection Stone, and the Invisibility Cloak. Voldemort was seeking the Elder Wand, believing it would make him invincible. Captured by Snatchers, they were taken to Malfoy Manor. Hermione was tortured by Bellatrix Lestrange, screaming for hours, while Harry and Ron were locked in the cellar with Luna, Dean Thomas, and Griffook the Goblin. Darby appeared to rescue them, the house elf Harry had freed years before. They escaped to Shell Cottage, but as they vanished, Bellatrix threw her silver knife. They landed on a beach at Bill and Fleur's cottage, and Darby collapsed, the knife buried in his chest. Harry dug a grave by hand in the sand and buried his friend with dignity. Here lies Darby, a free elf. In his grief, Harry found clarity. He understood that Dumbledore had wanted him to hunt Horcruxes, not chase Hallows. Power wouldn't save him. Love would. They broke into Gringotts with Polyjuice Potion and the Imperious Curse, stealing Hufflepuff's cup from Bellatrix's vault. They escaped on a half-blind dragon, releasing it over London in one of the most spectacular acts of theft in wizarding history. The cup was destroyed at Hogwarts with a basilisk fang. When word spread that Harry Potter had returned to Hogwarts, the school rallied. Professor McGonagall dueled Snape and drove him from the castle. Protective enchantments were raised. Former students returned through secret passages. The room of requirement filled with defenders. Teachers, parents, shopkeepers, students of age, even Creature leading the House Elvessa Euros, all stood together as Death Eaters, giants, acromantulas, and dementors descended on the castle. The battle was chaos. Curses lit the night. Walls exploded. Friends died in flashes of green light. Harry searched desperately for the final Horcrux of Euros, Ravenclaw's diadem, hidden in the room of requirement. Draco Malfoy, Vincent Crabbe, and Gregory Goyle confronted them there. Crabbe cast fiendfire, cursed flames that consumed everything, and died in his own inferno. Harry saved Draco and Goyle, and the diadem burned. In the chaos, Harry witnessed Voldemort murder Severus Snape in the Shrieking Shack, ordering Nagini to kill him for mastery of the Elder Wand. Snape's dying act was to give Harry his memories, silver tears leaking from his eyes. In Dumbledore's Pensieve, Harry learned the truth. Snape had loved Lily Potter since childhood, had turned spy for Dumbledore out of grief and desperate love, had protected Harry for 7 years while playing the perfect villain. And one more terrible truth. Harry himself was a Horcrux, an unintended fragment of Voldemort's soul attached to him the night his parents died. For Voldemort to be mortal again, Harry had to die. Harry walked into the Forbidden Forest alone. He opened the snitch Dumbledore had left Hema Euros, eye open at the close, a circumflex Euros, and found the resurrection stone inside. He summoned the spirits of his parents, Sirius and Remus Lupin, to walk beside him to his death. They told him dying didn't hurt, that they would stay with him until the end, that he was braver than anyone they had ever known. He stood before Voldemort and did not raise his wand. Avada Kedavra, the killing curse struck him down, and Harry died. Harry awoke in a place that looked like King's Cross Station, bright and clean and empty. Dumbledore was waiting. The piece of Voldemort's soul had been destroyed by the curse. Harry was free of it. But because Voldemort had used Harry's blood in his resurrection, the protection of Lily's sacrifice lived in Voldemort's veins. Harry was tethered to life. He could choose to return or he could go on. Harry chose to live. Back in the forest, Narcissa Malfoy was sent to check if Harry was dead. She whispered, "Is Draco alive?" Harry nodded. She lied to Voldemort, telling him Harry was dead. Harry was carried to Hogwarts as a trophy. Hagrid forced to carry what he believed was Harry's corpse. When Neville Longbottom defied Voldemort, when the Sorting Hat burst into flames on his head, Harry threw off the invisibility cloak and revealed himself alive. The battle resumed. Marley Weasley killed Bellatrix Lestrange. Neville beheaded Nagini, the final Horcrux. Voldemort was mortal at last. In the Great Hall, Harry and Voldemort circled each other one final time before everyone still fighting. Harry spoke of wand allegiance, explaining that Draco had disarmed Dumbledore on the astronomy tower, making Draco the Elder Wand's master. Harry had disarmed Draco at Malfoy Manor, making Harry the wand's true master. The Elder Wand would not kill its master. Voldemort cast the killing curse. Harry cast Expelliarmus. The spells met. The Elder Wand refused to kill Harry. Voldemort's curse rebounded, and Tom Riddle died an ordinary human death, his body hitting the floor, finally mortal, finally finished. The war ended, but the losses remained. Fred Weasley, Remus Lupin, Nymphadora Tonks, Carlin Creevey, and 50 others had given their lives. Harry helped rebuild the wizarding world, became an Auror, and eventually rose to head of magical law enforcement. He married Ginny Weasley. They had 3 children, James Sirius, Albus Severus, and Lily Luna, named for the people who had shaped Harry's life and the friends who had died protecting him. Ron and Hermione married as well, and their families remained intertwined. 19 years after the Battle of Hogwarts, Harry stood on platform 9 3/4, sending his children to the school that had saved him. His son Albus worried about being sorted into Slytherin. Harry told him that the Sorting Hat takes your choice into account, and that Albus was named for 2 headmasters, one of whom was a Slytherin and the bravest man Harry ever knew. The scar had not pained Harry for 19 years. All was well. Harry Potter's story is one of impossible odds and extraordinary love. An orphan who found family. A child who faced evil and chose courage over power. A young man who walked willingly to his death to save everyone he loved. He was never the most talented wizard. He survived because people loved him, because he loved them back, and because he understood something Voldemort never could, that there are things worth dying for, and that love leaves traces no dark magic can erase. From the cupboard under the stairs to the head of magical law enforcement, from the boy who lived to the man who chose to die and chose again to live, Harry Potter became exactly what the wizarding world needed him to be. Not a hero without flaw, but a person with every reason to become bitter who chose instead to become kind. The boy who lived became the man who loved. And that made all the difference.